If you're drowning in debt and are delaying paying it off, I want to show you a verse in the Bible that will completely change the way you look at your debt. And that verse is Proverbs 22:7, and I'm going to read it for you. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. Let that sink in. The borrower is a servant to the lender, and some translations say slave. I have read this verse so many times, and I have even quoted it over and over. And recently I stopped and thought about it, and it hit me differently about debt. It made me realize how slavery is not all about the chains. You know, when we think about somebody in slavery, it's about the control. It's about how somebody else, when we are in debt, how somebody else is controlling us, how somebody else is controlling our time, how somebody else is controlling what we can do with our money or what we cannot do, because we've already put ourselves into debt. And now here we are working constantly to pay these debts off, and we cannot even do anything else with our money. And this is what really hit me hard too, that every time we take on debt, we're not just borrowing money, but we are borrowing against our future. We are saying that we are okay going to work every single day and pay for the things that we have already consumed in the past. And sometimes those things that we have consumed in the past, we don't even remember those things that we bought. It could be the shoes, it could be the car, it could be the couches, or things that we bought that we could have waited to buy these things. But instead, we went ahead and purchased these things with maybe high interest, maybe 24, 30%. But yet now when we get our paychecks are paying for the things that we've already consumed. And sometimes, as I said, we don't even remember what these things are. And then when we work, because we have to pay these debts, we are now just working to service this debt. We have to send these monies to the creditor, and whatever is left is just what we have, you know, and sometimes it's not enough. How many times have you had maybe somebody saying, I'm barely getting by? And why do we say that we are barely getting by? It's because, fine, we went to work, but all the money that came to us went to service the debt. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what really hit me about Proverbs 22:7, where it talks about, you know, what I said, you know, it talks about, you know, being in debt, or it's almost like, it's not even like almost, it is like being a slave. And when you're a slave, you're working for these lenders. You know, we're making these credit card companies very rich. Think about, maybe, I don't know whether you've ever calculated and see, like maybe your year, or if you look at your bank statement and see where they tell you like the interest that you have paid year up to date, like every single month. If you look at the back of the credit card statement, it will tell you. And sometimes even for me, it makes me sick to the stomach, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I have paid the debt, but then this amount of money is all the money that has gone to the interest. And what has it done? Not even knocked the principal down. It has literally just went as a pure profit for the lender. And so what are you doing? We were working as slaves to work, you know, for the lenders. When I understood that, and when I realized that, I was like, you know what? This is it. This is the time for me to get really serious about getting out of debt. And it also reminded me, you know, the story in the Bible about the Israelites when they were in slavery. They were just working and working and working, and every time they were working just to get a place to sleep and to have bread. And I was just like, oh my goodness, it's the same thing, like, you know, like us today, the financial bondage that we are in. Fine, we are not in that kind of slavery, but if you think about it, we are in financial bondage, and we have to set ourselves free. If we do not set ourselves free, we're going to continue this cycle over and over and over. And I want to encourage you today that make Proverbs 22:7, make it an encourager for yourself, and make it like become so real the way it became to me. When we understand the form of slavery that we are in, this will set you up so free. And for us, my husband and I, when that concept, like we were like, oh my goodness, we are being slaves, it really helped us, you know, in 2025. And we were able to pay $40,000 just in debt. Fine, we're not where we need to be, but we were like, oh my goodness, we gotta start. So even for you, just start somewhere, you know. And for us, It's even the best thing is that we did it with one income. And if you haven't watched my video where I talked about how we paid $40,000 with one income, I'm going to link it in the description or in the card above, and you can watch that and see how we did it. And for us being able to pay that $40,000, it was such an encouraging, and it didn't happen overnight. There were sacrifices, yes, but guess what? It's just because we made sure that we are not making this debt thing, being normal, because the culture here in America says debt is normal, everybody is in debt, you have to be in debt. So we made sure that we do not want to be in this culture, because if we follow the biblical principles, God wants us to walk in freedom. And I'm sure it hurts the heart of God to see us like all oppressed, all walking in anxiety, just because we are in debt, and He has called us to walk in freedom. And there is this verse that I love, and I'm gonna look for it. It's Luke 14:28. It's talked about, for which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it. And this verse for me, it really hits home about being a good steward of our finances. If we have to be good steward with our finances, we have to plan ahead. And we have to stop using debt, because the things sometimes that we buy, if we follow what the Bible is saying, that we sit and consider, like being like we're building a tower, consider the cost. If we're buying a car, let's consider the cost. How much is the car? Instead of just going to the bank and saying, we need a car and we don't even know how we're going to pay it, consider, let's say, how much is the car, or whatever it is that we choose to buy. How much is this thing? And instead of me putting it on a credit card, how much is it going to cost me, and how can I start preparing for it before I need it? Or how much can I delay, gratify myself to be able to get this thing that I desire to have? So let even like Luke 14:28 be your encouragement, like to be a good steward of what God has given you, and to be a steward and be a good planner. And here's the truth, when we talk about debt, a lot of people just talk about numbers. We throw things around, numbers around, but nobody really talks about the real effects of debts. We don't talk about, how much debt costs us emotionally, the peace that it steals, the time that it robs us from our families. Let's say that you're in debt and you're working to get out of debt. Sometimes you have to work 16 hours or maybe longer hours to be able to pay those debts. And that time that you are out there at work, it's robbing your time with your family. It's time that you could be doing, maybe you want to work to do a business, and maybe you cannot, because the money that you have an opportunity to do a business, but because you don't have that cash right now, because your cash, even before it gets to your bank, it's already accounted for by all these other debtors. They've already all lined up, like it's almost like they're all lined up, and you have to, like, once you get that paycheck, you have to pay one by one. And what's left for you, you cannot even do much with it. So you see, it robs you all these opportunities, and we have to run away from this, and we have to say time is gone for us to be slaves to these debts anymore. And the other thing that this verse literally helped me, Proverbs 22:7 helped me realize, is that God cares about our freedom, and He cares about our stewardship. So if you're watching this and you're saying, oh my goodness, this literally spoke to me and I need to pay off my debts, but you don't know how, let this verse, maybe meditate on it, put it on a card and meditate on it and see what it means to you. And look at your finances and look at your budget and say, how much debt am I in? How are these debts making me feel? Am I feeling like a slave? Am I being robbed of all the things that God has called me to, to do? And if that speaks to you, don't be discouraged. Make up your mind and say, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to be a slave anymore. I'm going to start paying off my debts, and so that you can start walking in that freedom that God has called you to be. So be encouraged. Let me know in the comment, do you have any debts? Is there a verse that encourages you, or motivates you to get out of debt? Are you on your debt-free journey? Let me know in the comments so that I can cheer you on. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope this verse is going to encourage you. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.